My name is Caleb Jack, and if you haven't watched one of my videos before, I'm on a quest to make 100 videos about things that I care about and things that you should care about too. Love, passion. Today I'm taking my stories to
in the blood, in the soul cleansing blood of the Lamb.
In the reclusive community of Gloriavale, people are told if they leave, they'll go to hell.
My husband first suggested to me that we could leave. I had never considered it. I thought the only option out there was death, and I had considered that option.
Gloriavale was founded by Neville Cooper, and since 1969 has upheld a strict lifestyle in accordance with their interpretation of the teachings in the New Testament, attempting to replicate the example of the first Christian church in Jerusalem, championing its principles of sharing and holding all things in common. Naturally, like any group of people living radically different to the majority, Gloriavale has found itself at the centre of many controversies. But was this the state attempting to assimilate a harmless group of people they just couldn't control? Or is Gloriavale a population operating lawlessly under the radar?
Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb?
Naturally, I have the sort of intrigue to want to go seek this place out for myself. Unfortunately, I'm also a part of the wider Christian church, so hopefully all there is left to do is sort of write the most polite and concise email I possibly can in the hopes that they'll invite me along. Good morning, guys. I was wondering if your community dinner would be coming up this year and if it was possible that I'd be able to attend alongside my girlfriend. We're both active in our faith-based Christian groups and see the value in reaching out and connecting with different communities, so we thought we'd reach out as we'd love to be along. All the best, Caleb.
A multi-agency operation is underway at the isolated West Coast Christian Community, Gloriavale.
In order to belong in a place like this, you have to conform. If you have doubts, you're a dangerous person. Aurelie and I had many concerns. Initial thoughts? Bit worried, shaky a bit?
Yeah, a bit shaky, but...
If you find this footage, guys.
No, stop it. Different. Okay, let's go.
Yeah. Before we go in, it's important to note, but a hard pill to swallow, that they are all but a reflection of what we would have been under similar circumstances. They are decent people, they are competent people, but they are victims of indoctrination, now purely operating under force of habit. It really is just in the middle of nowhere, with no signage anywhere. It's just like one way in, one way out. Okay, so just to set the scene, we've had like our induction, I guess, into Gloriavale by and or I guess like elders of Gloriavale.
It was long, 3 hours. We started one day. So he talked about how he went to Lithuania to get this packing machine for their farm. And in my head I was like, man, how is it justifiable that you travel the world but you're telling your kids they're not going to leave this village, you know?
Interesting.
I was like, well, why is it okay? Because he's doing business? Like,
yeah. Something real controversial that said is that like they were talking about how like people used to start working at 3 a.m. and then was like, but don't tell the state that, they might say it's slavery or something. Or something like that.
Really? I did not hear that. These people we met had 8 kids and 3 of them left the community.
Oh yeah.
I asked about them and they
were talking about like their church or mission sort of thing that they set up in India, and they have some poor people who come but only for the food, right? And he was kind of like criticizing that, like, oh, well, if they're not coming for the ministry, then maybe they shouldn't be there.
He called them
And it's
rice bowl Christians.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, who cares? Just like serve them and minister to them and just be there for them. That's all you gotta do, you know?
Look, we've been told what the community values by the elders, but there could be like another world.
Yeah.
Young people that we just like, the elders don't even know about.
Yeah.
Oh,
What?
let's do with ice cream.
Oh, what about it?
Do like a drop of vanilla. A drop.
Oh, yeah. It was so dang creamy. I was like, I can taste the cow.
Despite the disagreements, I really was grateful for the accommodation. If only it was somewhere more pleasant than a creaky wooden lodge built by 15-year-olds on New Zealand's biggest fault line. Oh, and not to mention the cold down the road. So it was a nervous night to say the least, but we awoke early to a brisk West Coast morning, setting off into the hills before we'd meet Noah, who would guide us back into and through the entire compound for a day. Gloriavale is located on the west coast of New Zealand's South Island at Lake Haupiri. It covers roughly 20 square kilometres of rural farmland and is home to over 600 people with a mean age of just 12, most of whom are housed in 4 multi-storied hostels adjacent to the 2 large buildings, the school and kitchen, dining / laundry area. But these commonly known locations shed only a glimpse of light on their community. Aurelie and I stayed here at their hunting lodge, one of the many businesses they operate. But what else we saw surpassed any of our wildest imaginations. Let's begin our observations with their industry. Gloriavale manufactures many products. To start off, we have Moo Chews.
Hello everyone, it's me, the Moo cow. I love Moo Chews.
A calcium supplement marketed in New Zealand. Forest Gold Honey. Operated on an almost entirely automated line, it boasts awards and market share all over the world. Here is Forest Gold Honey's assumed unauthorized overseas online advertising using 100% pure New Zealand's brand. Air West Coast provides specialised charter flights and, like the rest of the businesses, fails to recognise it operates out of Gloriavale. And they also boast meal plants, mechanics, woodworking garages, and most notably a vast expanse of dairy farms. But not limited to cows, they breed parrots for 10,000 a pop and make use of other animals. The schools were state of the art. Nearly half the population here are enrolled, all in gendered classrooms in accordance with age bracket, up until their graduation at 15, where they are then expected to begin employment within the compound. They adhere to New Zealand's NCA curriculum, but teach only what's needed to be known for life in the community. An abnormality that struck me was the teaching of te reo in preschools, though this was shrouded by the sight of various copies of The New Māori Myth, a book that denounces the return to Māori customs in New Zealand and emphasises that it is the word brought by missionaries and European settlers, not Māori culture, that alone can form the basis of lasting national unity and racial harmony. A controversial teaching to say the least. And past the dining hall, the 1800 meals produced in areas maintained by young females every day. Possibly more unsettling were the people in the hostels who had already seemed to have decided they didn't want to mingle with us. We warmed up to a few children and were passionately preached to by some other adults, but the conversations were often clouded by a disconnect from reality, a fear of the world. We don't have enough money to rub 2 pennies together, rung on in my mind, especially as I was handed these upon our departure. Look at this, that just can't be true. Somewhere in the hierarchy, there's a disconnect. Gloriavale's assets total over $40 million, but I'd say it's easy to suspect more. It's a well-oiled machine that seems to operate off the dominion the organisation has over the families who are spiritually, emotionally, physically, and financially invested. When your hundreds of unpaid workers reside on site and work 6 days a week, there's less barriers to grow.
And I think in the world it's very inspiring to be unique, but in this place they talked a lot about like your flesh dying, and you don't want to be yourself, you want to be God. And so I think they threw away a lot of individual passions. You know, they wanted to be like everybody else.
It's about like assimilating to one idea.
Yeah.
And look, you'll go to any church, a part of any religion, and they'll say that they're doing it right, and they're the ones who are taking it the way that it should be. And I think when you've got a group like these people who completely reject any other ideology, and they refuse to eat from any other loaf of bread but their own, I think you find that actually isn't like sharing and being compassionate with other communities and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm home now, and oh my gosh, what an adventure, what an experience. I'm really excited to share the story with you guys. I've been working hard editing it right now. I've got a lot of mandarin peels there just to prove that. Guys, I'd also just like to reiterate, don't vilify them. They are simply what we would have been under similar circumstances. Every human yearns for community, and maybe ask yourself, if you were to leave this place, who would stick by you? We're all susceptible to this. Fortunately, we have the opportunity to reevaluate. But unfortunately, those of Gloriavale do not. They are subject to a salvation set by the standards of a privileged few who weaponize the absence of doubt, the existence of God, the fear of hell, and the promise of heaven. Religions don't abuse people, leaders do, and those leaders should be held accountable. Legalistic religion has skewed the true goodness of having a faith. Find faith, but beat the dogma.